Hello folks, Typhoon Carter here, and I bring to you another DPP Revival Invitational 2 series. This is actually a double header, with the first one being a round 2 space bracket showdown between Fruhdazi, going by Shitrock Enjoyer, and Quilly. The other series we're going to be covering today will be Baddy versus Sosa. Anyways, that said though, you know, Fruhdazi had strong showing versus Balauj Blast in the prior round, whereas Qwily had to beat L numbers to get to where he is. This should be a real fun matchup. Can't wait to see what happens though. Let's jump right in. So we got Empoleon lead into a Tyranitar lead. So Empoleon here could either you know, specs Hydro Pump or something into like Spadef T-Tar. However, the thing that Fruhdazi here is gonna have to be careful of is you know, like a Scarf Tar superpower turn 1. Now if it's Sash and you stay in, that also makes sense. So there's a couple ways this can play out. We'll see what happens here. There's the Scarf Tar. Oh, okay, no, it's just gonna get taken out. So Fruhdazi may have gotten caught off guard by that, or that auto. I think if it's Scarf Tar, I think if you put some bulk on your Empo, I don't think it outright kills most of the time, but Kingdra is going to be a huge threat here though. And whoa, okay, no, so that was not a Scarf T-Tar. What likely happened was that this could be like a 243 T-Tar into a modest Empoleon. That's also a possibility, but if that was the case, then usually that Empoleon's not going down, especially Fruhdazi showing what looks to be water spam here. Protects here, trying to let that toxic damage do a bit of work there. And then I think if you're Noah, you should probably look to get Latias in. And Fruhdazi makes a great read there into the Latias, and that Latias is probably Reflect Lati. Pursuit's there. No, I think that's a mistake actually. If you're Fruhdazi, because one, you should be crunching there anyways, because Noah has no reason to stay in ever. Anyway, Scarf's gonna show up here, and oh, okay, so this is probably a mixed tar. So if I'm Noah, you might want to go back into your own T-Tar, scout that out. That's probably what I would do here. And there's the Fire Blast. Ooh, geez, that is not what Quilly wants to see. And Skarm's just gonna go down. So, oh, that was a speed tie right at 177. And Jirachi's got a friend of Iron Head into Fruhdazi. Iron Head's there. We don't know if that's Scarf or not. Fire Punch is there, going to do, oh, huge burn though. And that might have been, this could potentially be a speed tie. Now this could also be Scarf Jirachi on Fruhdazi's end, because like on Water Spam, I think one of the last here has to be a Gyarados. And then you have the T-Tar, which covers the Rotom matchup really perfectly. So yeah, the big thing is, like, a lot of times these water spam teams rely heavily on Latias to be their water check, so I think that's something that Noah's gonna have to be careful of, or Quilly for those who do not know, but gonna get roared out there instead. So nice roar from Quilly, and Latias was buffeted by a Sandstorm first, and that's gonna take out the Kingdra, so Fruhdazi okay with letting that go. And Tyranitar's gonna show up once again, and oh, huge pursuit there though, taking out the Latias. Yeah, also for some reason the pursuit message, if it shows the user switching out, there's like a bit of a showdown on glitch, rather a glitch with the pursuit message not showing up properly. I don't know when that's gonna get fixed. Anyways, Jirachi's gonna come in on Noah's end, and Gyarados is gonna show up. Doesn't want to risk taking any unnecessary chip damage, but a nice body slam mid ground there by Quilly. Unfortunately not going to get the paralysis, and Clef's going to come right in. However, has to be careful. Oh, this might be a CM Clef. We'll find, oh, we don't even have a chance to find out what that Clef set was, because if that was CM Clef, then that lives, and then, you know, it takes out the Gyarados, but Gyarados going to try and brute force its way past the zone. Not gonna happen. Fruhdazi more than okay with that, especially with this. Oh, this has to be CM Latias, or Specs. Either Specs or CM Latias. If it's Specs, then, you know, Fruhdazi's in a great position here to actually close this game out. And not to mention, you still have the T-Tar that can actually take care of the Scarf Magnezone if that's what it is. And Ooh, Colberberry's a nice tech there. Yeah, that's something you see a fair bit in BW, on Latios, especially as a temporary pursuit switch out. So, Fruhdazi, whoever gave Fruhdazi this team, it's like, you know, Colber's a great call to have on Latias. Very nicely done though, and Surf's going to... It might kill here, but Draco's gotta get the job done, however. And Quilly now has to, you know, hope he paras everything. That's pretty much his only out. Para crits. That is what he needs right now. But no, that's Scarf Jirachi's got to take care of business. And Fruhdazi's got to take this game 1, and he's got to be on match point, potentially. So, really nicely done from Fruhdazi, although I think he probably could have gotten more mileage out of Empoleon if he doesn't get crit by that T-Tar turn 1. Again, I don't know the exact bulk investment that Empoleon had on Fruhdazi's end, but really what we see here is just kind of how water spam can sometimes overload these defensive teams, or like this very stally team that Quilly has where, you know, a lot of times you're really just depending on that Latias to kind of do the work for you. Now, to be fair, T-Tar in some scenarios against like weaker waters like Starmie, like Spadef, T-Tar can sometimes function as a quote-unquote water check with the sand boost, although that's usually more so against stuff like Starmie. And then to a degree, I guess you could argue Quagsire as well, because like you can toxic a really good lure into something like Quagsire, which sometimes thinks it has free real estate to either try to curse up or, you know, like set up and whatnot. That being said though, we do still have a game 2. Anyways, here we are with game 2. Gyarados lead into a Swampert lead. This is a interesting lead matchup for a couple reasons. Swampert can obviously hit power electric. It can also roar out for a toxic. There's a few ways it can play out, although more often than not, Gyarados is very favored here, because if you're Swampert, a lot of times Swampert is tasked with taking on a multitude of threats, including especially Jirachi, right? So sometimes you really don't want to take that chip damage from something like a Gyarados, although like its lead pert doesn't tell us a whole lot of what either team is yet. But if this is like CB Gyarados, then you could expect like maybe a make a Steelite in the back, or like, you know, like, or DD Tar in the back perhaps. It could also be defensive Gyarados, so tons of ways this team can turn out on Fruhdazi and on lead, whereas for Quilly, usually this just indicates some kind of balance or bulky offense with the pert. But let's see how this turns out. Dragon Dance is here, so Latias is the instant answer. They're going to threaten a T-Bolt into a Spadef Metagross, and Metagross will at least get rocks up. Stealth Rock's up here. One thing I will say is that Quilly is going to have to be careful of getting hit with something like Hindpart Fire or Grass Knot. If Fruhdazi has that. Now, if Fruhdazi doesn't have that, then either way, Fortress is still going to take a decent amount of damage from EQ. But obviously, Fruhdazi could also have something like a, you know, like a Wisp Rotom in the back or whatnot. But we'll see how this plays out. Magneton's going to show up, so that's actually interesting. T-Bolt's here. Oh, huge crit. Okay, that Fori getting spin off. Oh, okay, so it was probably a Spadef Fori, and Quilly got a little bit unlucky there, but I think there is one way this interaction can backfire. Could have backfired for Fruhdazi, is that if this Magneton, you know, like if this Fori had EQ, then Quilly could have obviously went for that play and then gotten rid of the Magneton, because a lot of times Magneton, Scarf Magneton in particular, it's not going to run HP Fire, because if you want to run HP Fire, run Magnezone for that, especially because that speed loss is like just too important. But yeah, based on how this played out, yeah, tough luck. But Breloom is going to show up here right on the Stealth Rock entry. Breloom could obviously threaten the SD, but just got to play it straight, just got S Seed Bomb there. Noah might be a little bit tilted. Metagross is going to show up here, and now it's going to be able to get rocks up for good. Psychic is not something you see a lot on Latias, although I think Fruhdazi was always switching out of there because you just can't risk eating an Ice Beam or Draco Meteor from that position. But Suicune's going to show up. Obviously, this Metagross could friend a huge explosion here, so you have to be careful of that. Yeah, there's an explode here, and I think Noah is, or Quilly is just, I think he's just really tilted right now, like based on how he's playing this, because, you know, he let the Swampert go for no real reason, and Latias, like you could gone Latias, and then what you could do is you could then double back into Suicune. So I feel like, you know, Fruhdazi, he's taking complete control of this game, and you know, now he's got this T-Tar in, and now it's got friend a huge crunch. EQ Latias here, yeah, that's kind of a nice touch to see sometimes. That's a CB Tar based on that damage, and then Scizor is gonna show up here. Got obviously friend a U-turn or SD. If this is Taunt Gira, then he's perfectly fine. You need to taunt now. You have to taunt now. Oh no, gotta get the roll instead, so that he could have low rolled there. And then, you know, but yeah, there were a couple of ways that could have definitely gone horribly for Fruhdazi if he wasn't careful. Now, if he was willing to do that, it tells me that his last was probably like, you know, maybe someone that could kind of take on that Scizor if he was okay with that. Well, okay, he does also have the Magneton too, so obviously there's that, but to me that like +3, you know, like Bullet Punch is still gonna do a decent amount, especially with the Stealth Rocks and Spikes. But Fruhdazi is gonna win this series 2-0 versus Quilly. Quilly thanks for playing, but really I think that game 2, the big takeaway there was I think Quilly just got, I think he probably got very tilted from that Fortress getting crit by the Magneton, and then I think like after that he was really just not focused whatsoever, when like based on how he played the rest of that game, like he could have done a lot more to put himself in a better position, right? Like for example, right after on the Swampert and Breloom turn, you could just go Latias and then you go out there, okay, fine. What you can then do after is like, you know, double back it. As I was saying earlier, you could double into Suicune, double into Scizor, to try to draw out the Pursuiter, because again, if you're running something like a Gyarados, and like a Metagross, and then even something like Breloom kind of gets slammed by Rotom Shadow Balls, right? Like then you can, then you know, Fruhdazi's got to have a T-Tar in the back, so you could kind of draw it out and then make. And then like you still have your hazard advantage, and that's the big thing, right? Like you can try to leverage that hazard advantage to your benefit. That's something that I think Noah could have done differently, and I think Fruhdazi kind of did what he had to do. I don't know, he might have just not had a taunt on the Gyarados, because I feel like after that second DD, I think you want to taunt early, right? Like you want to taunt early, make sure that your opponent on turn 13, I would have definitely taunted there. Like, don't even give your opponent a chance to get any major boosts, and then, you know, then bam, just waterfall your way past the Sizz. But, you know, that sometimes that's the way things roll, and Fruhdazi will be facing the winner of either Baddy or Sosa, which we will cover right now. So we got Baddy versus Sosa here for our second series of the video. Baddy again came off a huge win against Jabba in the prior round, whereas Sosa had to beat Bynum to get to where he is. If you want to check those out, it'll be in the playlist for DPP Revival Invitational 2. Anyways, very curious to see how this matchup's gonna turn out. Sosa's playing by Watchman 4029. I don't know if that's like, you know, like a reference to like a Watchmen comic or something. I don't follow comic books like that, but anyways, let's jump right in. So we got Starmie lead or Kingdra lead. This is a pretty interesting matchup because if this is Spec Starmie, then it can still deal significant amounts of damage to Kingdra, but Kingdra usually I would say is a little bit favored in this scenario. So, you know, I'm very interested. Both players could be bringing water spam, but I'm curious to see how both players respond to each player's respective leads. Starmie's just got a trick here and just gotta get the Flame Orb onto a Kingdra, and that's actually gonna save Sosa from getting KO'd by that Draco Meteor. So really nicely done, and into a Gliscor. So Flame Orb Starmie is actually a really cool tech to see, because like I think the idea is that one, like whatever, you could use it not only as a trick fodder, but also to kind of cripple, like for example, you get T-waved on the way or whatnot. Let's say, you know, like somebody switches out, then you can kind of trick Flame Orb, and then outside of Clef, it's like, and something like Heatran, it's like everything else is getting crippled, and even something like Heatran or Infernape that's immune to Flame Orb would still fear getting surfed on, right? So, you know, really cool lead. Love to see it. Stealth Rocks here. This Gliscor should be faster than Kingdra, but might not be a case. Anyways, yeah, doesn't want to take a risk there. Starmie's unfortunately got to go down a little bit early. I think Sosa would want to keep that if he can, but Lucario's got to show up. This might be... Ooh. Kingdra, T-Tar, Gengar. I mean, you gotta have a second water here. I mean, it could also be a double dragon team. Something like a Jirachi could also make sense here. Anyways, yeah, this Gengar, huge threat right now to Lucario. We gotta see how Sosa responds here. Yeah, go into Gliscor. That's a Spadef Gliscor if I've ever seen one. Baddy has to be careful getting knocked off here. But gotta get U-turned instead, so there might be a mag in the back for Sosa. And gonna go into Metagross there to absorb. Oh, that is not what you want to see. Metagross tricks the Scarf into a Specs. Oh, it was a Specs Lucario. So yeah, that's actually a really cool set to see for a couple reasons. But what this does mean is that Baddy has real estate with the Gengar. And something really nice about Specs Luke is, like, I think it's kind of a nice deviation of Special Luke, because what we really have seen the last couple months in DPP is really kind of how CM Lucario has really kind of taken off in this post-sleep ban metagame, right? Like, really good for punching past Donphan, and we really see the power of Specs boosted Aura Spheres. I don't know, I think if you're Baddy there, I think you just need to EQ, but I get why you don't want to take that risk. Oh, Wisp missing there is really unfortunate. And oh, double Wisp miss here, and that is bad news. If that's a Scarf Tar, he is in trouble. That does not tell us a whole lot. That might be a Scarf. Yeah, I think that's a Scarf Tar. There was no extra message for Pursuit. So Latias could be a Heatran answer here. T-Waves up. Fire Blast is here. If this is Reflect Lati, then you better, if you're Sosa, you better put that Reflect up now. There's the T-Tar. Dragon Pulse is there. That's interesting decision. This might be Surf Lati. I mean, either way, I think you still want a T-Wave here. Like, just try to give yourself a chance to BS past the T-Tar, but nope, not even gonna have a chance to do that. That's gonna be a bit of a DD's up here, but the issue now is that this Lucario, the Scarf trick there, yeah, this is why I think you really needed to take that kill with Metagross earlier, because, like, this is kind of like a future consequence that we see here. Like, now Lati can just T-Wave again, and that's not what you really want to see if you're Baddy, but Baddy also knows this is his one chance. Unfortunately, this Lucario is still gonna get its revenge kill with the Aura Sphere. Kingdra's gonna get sacked. You better have something else for this Lucario. Latias, okay, sure, except Scarf Tar is kind of just sitting in business here. That is a hard-hitting Latias if I've ever seen one. That's probably a modest Latias. Anyways, yeah, there's the crunch there. Yeah, Sosa doesn't. Yeah, you always just crunch there. Take your guaranteed damage. And then doesn't really matter here because Sosa has Vacuum Wave, or at least he should have Vacuum Wave anyways with the Lucario. If you're gonna run Specs, yeah, you gotta have insurance for DD Tar, and this is Sosa's in this case. Vacuum Wave's there, and then Vacuum Wave's still gonna deal a healthy amount of damage to Heatran, so that, you know, even with Shuka Berry, it's like Gliscor can still kill this. Yeah, and that para from the Latias coming in huge, and Sosa should take this game 1. Really, I think the main takeaway from this game, yeah, exactly. yeah, so that Shuga didn't matter. But really, I think the big takeaway here is you really see how important Latias, how much of a role Latias can play, even when it's not actively dealing damage to the other team. Because like it can just do it all. It's like the Ben Zobrist of DPP, but where, like, you know, well, actually no, he's probably more like Mookie Betts. But anyways, baseball ramblings aside, yeah, just don't look up what the Brewers Mariners score was. Anyways, sorry, I've gone on long enough. We still have a best of 3 cover. Sosa's on match point. And we got game 2 here. Let's jump right in. So we got T-Tar into a Needle Queen lead. So Sosa is just bringing all the stall, bring out the stall out, especially with the fact that he's up 1-0. And this T-Tar could also indicate, could be CB, could be a bazillion things. Stealth Rock's up here. T-Spike's gonna go up. Rotom's gonna show up. Oh, this might be that BKC, you know, T-Tar, Rotom, Skarm, Clef Latias, Jirachi 6. Clef's gonna show up here. And Quagsire, oh Jesus. Yeah, that is a terrible matchup. That's probably a Rest Talk Rotom because normally you should just be subbing up there. And the Clef's being faster than Quag too, so that's like really not good. You know, if if Sosa had snatched Clef for whatever reason, Baddy would be even in more trouble. But this Breloom could do a lot heavy lifting here, especially because this defensive Breloom can now afford to run, you know, Force Palm plus a Seed Bomb and Leech Seed. Leech Seed is just an incredible progress maker in this tier. And Bronzong's gonna show up here. You gotta have a mag in the back, I think. Spike's up here, interesting. Okay, you might not. Okay, Jesus Christ, yeah. Yeah, sometimes these Neo Queen teams, like, you're just so strapped for slots. Like, you would love to have a spinner here, is all I'm gonna say. And then you kind of really see it rear its ugly head sometimes. And there's the Roost. A Gyro Ball here, and as I was saying, like, these Neo Queen teams, sometimes, like, you would love to fit a spinner if you can, but sometimes you just don't have that luxury. And sometimes they'll get by relying on something like a Magneton, which the 6 should have, especially if you're going to run Bronzong. And defensive Breloom, which is, like, you know, food for those two. But BB's up again for Baddy, and it's kind of a stalemate here because Baddy can't really roost, at least not safely anyways. And yeah, Sosa's just getting every turn wrong, and sometimes, yeah, like these Neo Queen teams can be really matchup fishy by nature. Oh Jesus Christ, yeah, Hazard's gonna be a huge problem. And if Baddy has a Clefable, you better show it sooner rather than later. And yeah, Heatran's got Protect here, nothing too crazy. Yeah, as much as I would love to see Heatran here, like, as a T-Spike abuser, the big issue is just generally you are just so raw into, this is just way too raw into like just Hazard stack. And then like something like Mixed Flygon would have a complete field day versus Sosa's entire team. So that's something that I don't particularly love, but I assume that he brought this like knowing that, and it was probably whoever was helping him prep probably made that judgment call to bank on Baddy not bringing this, at least for game 2. So of course that could have totally been a scout thing, and this Breloom's going to show up. However, Skarm is going to threaten a Brave Bird into this Loom. Thunder Punch is here, interesting. Oh, okay. I mean, that's not really an option you see often. I guess it makes sense for like Gyarados, especially like because defensive Loom can be a little bit passive sometimes. I guess you want to keep the Gyarados honest and also still hit. Oh, okay, there is the Starmie. Yeah, as I was saying, oh, that Brave Bird normally does not kill from that range is all I'm gonna say. Ignore the police sirens in the back if you hear that. Yeah, this is really hard for Sosa to overcome at this stage in the game, because like Baddy now at this point, okay, where's the clef? You gotta have that somewhere. Okay, there's the Latias. Okay, the last has to be clef here. If it isn't, like, Baddy needs to fire whoever gave him this team. Whoever is giving him teams, like, he needs to fire them into the sun if there's no clef in that last slot. CM's up here, and that is a Hinpar fighting, obviously, so Garrowball's here, and that is a defensive Rotom, evidently, with the Wisp and whatnot, and it can still spread damage around. And Breloom is going to come in trying to block that Wisp, but Baddy anticipates this. Nicely done, trying to... Oh, okay, yeah, and then Thunder Punch, unfortunately, doing donkey damage. And you really see just how hard Skarm can be to kill sometimes if you don't have that immediate firepower. Take, for example, something like a Eruption Heatran or a Specs Tran, for example. This is exactly why you need them. Yeah, Neoqueen's gonna recover some health, but I would not be too concerned here if I'm Baddy. Oh, okay. Ice Beam's here, not gonna do a whole lot, but even then, I gotta say, this is a really bad situation for Sosa, even though Sosa's only down 6-5, because he really needed that Starmie alive, and unfortunately Baddy kind of just got him real good on that entry point and got a crit to be rewarded even further. But the other thing I'd say is that this team can struggle with Rotom. Like, there's just a lot of things that this struggles with sometimes, and you kind of see how I think this team that Sosa's got, it might be trying to do a little bit too much. Fire Punch is here, okay, sure, although you gotta have Force Palm, right, for DD Tar. Okay, there's the Leech Seed. Yeah, hasn't shown Force Palm or Sky Uppercut or anything like that. So I am curious, I suppose you could say. There's the Brave Bird. Sosa's doing a good job trying to keep himself in the game, but this is gonna be tough. Especially because there's nothing. Yeah, and this is most certainly not Flamethrower Queen on that last slot. I mean, I've fiddled around with Ice Beam plus Flamethrower on Neoqueen. It's a cool idea, but like a lot of times in practice it can fall apart because you really want Roar, you really want Protect to abuse those T-Spikes, right? Or abuse those hazards. And again, what's his last? I mean, is it Gliscor? Okay, yeah, more Ice Beaming here. Whirlwinds. I mean, sure, there's the Clef, but what's Baddy's last? I have so many questions. I mean, okay, if he does have a Clef, which I'm going to assume he does, or at least he should, or a Mag, perhaps? I mean, I suppose Mag could totally make sense here, but he might just be trying to PP stall the Clef before, you know, making his own Clef show up, which I suppose wouldn't be a bad idea. And that Skarm could be gone, as they'd say, but I don't think it'll be gone just yet. And this Latias actually is kind of a threat to Sosa's team as well, especially because it's CM and you don't have a way to cripple it with status. And this is kind of the downside to Wish Protect Clefable, is that sometimes you just wish you had those extra move slots. Gonna sack the Skarm, because Skarm's already done its job. Latias is gonna show up again, sure. Wish is up here. Bronzong's probably gonna be healed back up to full. We're gonna see him up again, sure. This Bronzong might have Toxic, that's what I'd be worried about. Oh, Sosa might not have that. Anyways, Garrowball's here, and yeah, Baddy's not running max speed Lati on this, and it shows. But, oh, really? Oh my god. That might have actually done it for Baddy, because like you look at the rest game state wise, the Latias is still a huge threat. It's threatening a KO on Breloom. Clef can't really do anything to it. Neo Queen could hacks it, I suppose. And then Heatran can't really do its whole sub shenanigans. So yeah, Baddy should have this game wrapped up on turn 69. And Heatran here does not matter. Good. Shadow Ball's gonna get the job done right there. Just rest up if you're... Yeah, if I'm Baddy, I'm resting up here. There's the rest. It's probably Rest Talk Rotom. And then, yeah, I suppose, like, you can get away with mono S-Ball because you have Quag as your primary Gyarados check, or at least one of 2 Gyarados checks alongside Scarm. And that Breloom's gonna go down. And this is just a very, very slow death. And Sosa is not even gonna bother playing this out, and he is going to just click X, and we are tied at 1-1, so we have a match point here. Alright, so 1-1, loser goes home, and winner is going to face Fruhdazi for play-ins finals of Space Bracket. So let's jump right into this. So we got Empoleon lead into a Tyranitar lead. This is going to be interesting because we actually saw this just earlier in the Fruhdazi Quilly game. Now Baddy might switch out here. Sosa also has an incentive to switch out, but both also have incentive to stay in and attack. We'll find out soon enough. Donphan's going to come in here right on the Stealth Rocks. And oh, huge Toxic there. And Stealth Rocks is going to go up. So Donphan here, obviously it's crippled, but it can still spread knocks around. But Donphan getting hit with Toxic is going to be quite detrimental to, you know, Baddy's overall long-term game plan, especially in this decider of a game free. Rapid Spins here, I don't know about that. I think you need to take your damage now, if anything. Stealth Rocks here, I really do not know about this. Hydro Pumps here, sure, but you're still got to take... Oh... I didn't tell you if that was not attack invested EQ, that is never killing. So Baddy getting a little bit unlucky. He already got off to a bad start, but that is just adding insult to injury. And Milotic's gonna show up. T-Tar, Milotic, Clef. So yeah, Sosa brings stall all 3 games. I think if I was Baddy, I would probably brought like hyper offense, like Scarm hyper offense, Azelf hyper offense with like Cobra Berry or something like that. Because you know, this is like the kind of stuff that French players would generally like to bring, and I think like the teams that Sosa's brought so far kind of give a lot of shades of those. Clef's gonna come in here, gonna get a knockoff on that Donphan, just limiting it even further. Protects here, and those T-Spikes really kicking in now. Rapid Spins here. Just got S-Toss, and that Donphan is gonna be out for good, so now T-Tar just has to look for one chance to get itself back into the game. And Jirachi's gonna show up here, going to eat this superpower up pretty comfortably. T-Tar gonna be forced out, and this Jirachi. So yeah, this is just a full-on stall team for Sosa here, as this Jirachi is going to probably just get its health right back up to full. Oh, bold move to Iron Head there. That could have backfired horribly, but it's, yeah, I don't know. I would just... Oh, okay, he didn't have Protect, that's why. Neo Queen's gonna show up here. Yeah, Milotic. Neo Queen, that synergy makes sense. Neo Queen absorbs T-Spikes, which Milotic usually does not want to deal with, because even though Marble Scale boosts its defense, it means that Jirachi wears it down even faster. Anyways, him powers here, gonna do 40%. Just gotta get all 3 layers, or sorry, both layers of T-Spikes up. And Sosa's gonna be right back out of HP ice range, and Clef is just going to eat this up comfortably. Yeah, this could play out like a slow funeral for Baddy, especially in this game free. This is just brutal to watch, and I don't know why he's just not knocking here. Roos is up here, sure. Wishes again. Okay, finally knocks there. I would have done it several turns sooner, but hey, the clef did what it needed to do. Estos is here going to, yeah, that's basically 30%, especially with no lefties now on this Zapdos, and man, knockoff, I don't think knockoff would, like, clef would not be so bad to deal with in DPP if knock actually worked or didn't like disable trick altogether, which is like probably one of the dumbest things about this gen. And hidden powers here, yeah, and I think it really reminds me, it just reminds, once again, just, oh, there's the mag, makes sense on this team, you want to limit Scarm. As I was saying, like, it really reminds me of kind of how Game Freak, you know, some of the older Pokemon games were programmed on literal spaghetti code, and oh, okay, Baddy just got forfeit, he's not even gonna bother playing this out, because he probably realizes he can't really beat Clef, especially because it's like Protect 2, and Sosa's gonna win this series 2-1, so nicely done from Sosa. He got the matchup he wanted, and he also went out there and executed his game plan to just about as well as you could ask for. And for Baddy, I mean, like, getting caught off guard by Toxic T-Tar, I think he might have just got knowledge checked there, because Toxic T-Tar has been shown before, especially in like SPL and whatnot. I think Piteous ran this kind of set a while back in one of her games. I don't remember which week exactly, but I know it was this year at the very least. And then this is like kind of a fantastic way for T-Tar to really get around somebody like Donphan, which has been getting more and more popular over the last year and a half, whatnot. But even though Donphan's a fantastic Pokemon, you really see how some teams can find ways to exploit Donphan, and we really see it on full display here. Toxic, and then you throw in the knockoff here, and really Baddy just never really had a real shot in this Game 3, and it would have took Sosa literally choking as hard as possible, because especially the moment that Sosa got the Neo Queen in and got the T-Spikes up, the game was over. Like, you weren't getting out of that. And not to mention Wish Protect Clef too, right? Like, being able to scale out the CB-Tar. And you really see how, even though Empoleon plus CB-Tar normally can beat some stall teams, you can kind of see the counter adjustment that some stalls make, especially by throwing in something like Magneton so that you can limit Empoleon to just one kill and whatnot. So that being said though, if you guys enjoyed this doubleheader, like, comment, subscribe, and consider donating to DPP Revival Invitational 2's prize pool. We have gotten some donations, but we'll probably update the prize pool amount around the start of main event. That said though, I will see you guys next time.